Right? His laws don't change. Okay. So Yeshua, he goes to the house of one of the chief Pharisees, and he did it on Shabbat, he did it on Sabbath, and he went there why? To eat a meal. Well, wow. That sounds to me like he was traveling a little bit, because he had to go to somebody else's house. It sounds to me like he was socializing, right? Because you're going in to eat a meal. Now, I don't think that the Pharisee and perhaps his guest who invited Yeshua into the home for a meal on Shabbat, I don't think they were necessarily doing it with socialization in mind, even though it looks like that on the surface. I think, they're always looking for some edge, some angle, some way to convict our Savior. They're looking for something wrong that they can accuse him with, and I think that's why they kind of sucked him into the house to get close to him. And if you think about that, how wrong is that? In every culture, I think, in almost every culture in the world, I don't know, somebody will probably tell me later that there's one that's not like that, but when you invite somebody into your home, Brother Cole, come on over to our house for dinner, we're going to have lasagna. Right? You don't invite that person in and then treat them like a dog. You don't treat them badly. You treat them like an honored guest. You treat them nice, right? You're supposed to be nice to somebody you invite into your home. You're not supposed to call somebody into your home, say I'm going to extend hospitality to you in order to try and find something wrong with you so that we can convict you in court. Verse 2, chapter 14. And behold, there was a certain man before them which had the dropsy. Anybody know what dropsy is? I had to look that up last time.
Parkinson's?
It's edema. What it is, it's your skin fills up with fluid. All right, so you get all puffy. And I was looking at pictures on Wikipedia, and like people's feet and legs get so swollen up, and you can push it and take your finger away, and the finger-sized dimple still stays there. Right, and people die from it. All right, and it's painful. And so this guy has it. He's all built up with fluid. He's all swollen. And Jesus answering, which is an interesting turn phrase, spake unto the lawyers and the Pharisees, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day? See, it says Yeshua is answering. Well, it didn't say they asked the question. You know why? Because he knows what they're thinking. He knows what they're thinking. They're thinking, oh, he loves to heal people. And it's Shabbat. And here's this guy right in front of him. What's he going to do? Is he going to heal on Shabbat? Maybe we'll have something here. And so he answers them. Now, when it says lawyers, these are experts in the law, but it's not like we have today. This is experts in Torah. Like these guys supposedly know their Torah. All right, so they're sitting around, and Yeshua says, hey, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day? I mean, if anyone ought to know, it ought to be them, right? It ought to be the lawyers. It ought to be the chief Pharisee, and there's probably a couple other guest Pharisees there. We don't know that, but it could be. But anyway, they should know. Now, how many discussions have you all had that started out with either you or the other person say, is it okay to do this on the Sabbath? Is it okay to do that? Especially when you're new to this, right? People start trying to look at what are all the rules? We don't want to get this wrong, so what are all the rules? Is it okay to do this? Who was I just talking to? My son. Is it okay to work on my car on Shabbat? Well, it's not my normal job. I kind of look at it like fun. Can I do that? So people ask these questions when they're new. Is it okay? But how many people do y'all know who have added made-up rules for the Sabbath? Extra things that they throw in there. What's the Bible say? What does Yahweh say concerning Sabbath? We read last week, I think, in our Torah portion we did, the 10 Commandments, right? And Exodus 28 says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. What's holy mean?
Set apart.
Set apart. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it set apart, to keep it different. So ask yourself this, how different is your Shabbat than the other 6 days? One, you're sitting here, right? So that's part of it. But the rest of your day, how different is it? How set apart is it from the rest of the days of your week? 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God, Yahweh thy Elohim. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and hallowed it. Means he made it holy, means he set it apart from all the other days. Yahweh said, do not do any work. What's work? Work is work, right? Work is work. Work is employment. Work is labor. Work's what you do for a living. We can read a couple refinements of things you aren't supposed to do on Shabbat. We can read a couple extra things in the Word. You're not supposed to start a fire. You're not supposed to gather firewood or extra manna or additional manna. You're not supposed to carry a burden. But beyond that, we don't have anything. All right? Now, we could get into nitpicking what's a burden. I think I've said this up here before because I can kind of remember the example popping into my head. Is carrying a crock pot of chicken to the meal we're going to have after this a burden? I don't think so. Maybe if you're a 2-year-old girl, it is. All right? Is me carrying what's in the back of our car? Probably 7 or 8 50-pound sacks of feed in the back of my car. Is me carrying that halfway across the pasture to where the chickens are and where the goats are and dumping that in, carrying a burden? I think so. Right? I can feel it when I carry 50 pounds. Am I going to do that today? No, I'm not. All right? It's Shabbat. I'm not going to carry a burden. I'm not going to do work, but I carry that camera in here. Right? You know, so what are we supposed to do? There's not a lot of talk in the Word other than that. But people, men, you know, mankind, man, we just can't leave well enough alone. We just want to get into that and nitpick that and say, well, this, that, and the other thing, and that. Hey, what's the Word say? Always take it back to the Word. And so Yeshua, knowing their hearts, he asked, hey, what do you all think? Is it lawful? Is it okay, according to Torah, to heal on Shabbat? Is that okay? What do you all think? Verse 4. And they held their peace. And he took him and he healed him and he let him go. They didn't say a word. They're like, You know why? Because the Pharisees and the lawyers, they were smart people. They were intelligent people. They were bright. They were quick. They knew what was going on. And they could feel the trap coming. When Yeshua said, what do you all think? Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day? They're like, he's going to get us somehow, so we'll just keep our mouths shut and not say anything. And he answered, and answering them, saying, which of you shall have an ass or an ox fallen into a pit, and will not straightway pull him out on the Sabbath day? And they could not answer him again to these things. Why couldn't they answer him to that? Why couldn't they refute Yeshua on that? Likely because, they had all done something like that in their lives. These holy and pious men, these experts in the law, had all probably saved a critter, one of their critters, from some kind of hole or caught in a fence, or ram's horns caught in a thicket, something like that on Shabbat. Now, I read a commentary, and it could be true. I think it gets to it a little bit, but it's like, half the reason, and I'll tell you why, because it ties into next week's sermon, good Lord willing, if we go there. Half of the reason these people had pulled their ox or their donkey out of a hole on Shabbat had nothing to do with their tender heart towards this beautiful little creature. It was because that animal was something that was worth money. It was valuable, and they weren't going to let it die in that hole, and it was more of an investment, and they didn't want to lose an investment than it was they actually had a tender heart towards their animal. Unlike Yeshua, who had a tender heart towards the sick man with dropsy. And like I said, you're going to see this is hypocrisy in them, and we're going to see this more as we continue on, hopefully, next week. Matthew 12:10 says this, and behold, there was a man which had his hand withered. And they asked him, saying, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath days? that they might accuse him. See, in this case, they wanted to accuse him for healing if he said yes. And he said unto them, What man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will he not lay hold of it and lift it out? How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days. It is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days. You're not supposed to carry a burden on the Sabbath day, but you know what? Sister Kate and I are firefighters. And if we've got to go to a fire on Shabbat, and I've got to carry a hose reel or a ladder or something like that, or, you know, God forbid, a body out of the house, that's a burden, right? It's okay to do well on the Sabbath day. We are saints. We are set apart by Almighty Yah. You know what? We need to start acting. All of us need to start acting like we're set apart. Observing the Sabbath, observing Shabbat is important. You know that. You're sitting here. I'm preaching to the choir in that case. Remembering the Sabbath day is important. Remember that the Sabbath day, the Sabbath Shabbat, it predates, it comes before the law was given. There was a Sabbath before there was the Ten Commandments on the mountain. Genesis 2, chapter 2, verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day Elohim ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. He set it apart on the seventh day, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. So, how should you remember Shabbat and keep it holy? How should you remember the Sabbath and keep it holy? Ask him. Pray about it. Read what he told you. What he told us, but he told you. So in this case, it's you, because you're the one who's going to be standing before Yeshua in the end, not me. I'm not going to be there with you. Okay, so it's up to you. Ask him. I'll tell you this. Set it apart. Do all your work in 6 days. Don't do any work on the seventh day. Don't make anybody under your supervision do any work. Don't make anyone in your purview in the gates do any work. Don't make your critters do any work. Some of you have critters. Don't make them work. It's a restful day. Rest. Remember who Yah is. Remember what he did for you, what he did for us. Remember that he sanctified the day, and then you need to do that. You need to keep the day holy, keep it set apart. The word tells us, For I am Yahweh that brought you up out of the land of Egypt to be your Elohim. Ye shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. We all need to do that. We all need to be set apart. We all need to be holy. Let's pray.